Welcome, everybody, to the Huddle, KGUN9 streaming sports talk show. We come to you each Tuesday at this time. I'm KGUN9 sports director Jason Barr, joined by our main news anchor, Pat Parris, and longtime St. Louis Cardinals broadcaster as well. Pat, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good. And don't forget St. Louis Blues as well, since we're going to talk a little hockey today.
Didn't mean to cut you short, but yes, take that away from you. But yes, perfect transition, because our guest today is Tucson Roadrunners forward Josh Doan. Josh joining us from the Las Vegas area, where the Tucson Roadrunners play the Henderson Golden Knights, Silver Knights, that is, tomorrow evening. Josh, good afternoon. I'm Jason. He's Pat. How are you today?
Good. How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me.
Terrific. Hey, how's the transition going from playing at ASU to the Roadrunners, where you just joined a few weeks ago? You only had to go 100 miles. You've got a line mate in Colin Tyson, who you played with at ASU. Tell us what the transition's been like for you the last couple of weeks, leaving ASU and joining the Roadrunners.
Yeah, obviously it's a little bit of adjustment going from what you'd say, I guess, collegiate hockey to pro with the last couple of weeks. But the guys here have been awesome and so supportive and helping me find my way and find my game and making me confident to play the style that I've been playing rather than try and be someone who I'm not out there. And obviously having Colin around makes a huge difference. He was someone who guided me through my freshman year at school. So it's been a blast so far.
Josh, what was the advice you were given as far as making that transition? What were the warnings and what types of things did people say you were going to notice different between collegiate hockey and playing for the Roadrunners?
Yeah, I think obviously the first thing is you gotta make sure you're keeping your feet moving. The game's gonna be a little faster every level you climb. You're gonna have to play a little bit quicker and with a little bit more pace. That's something that I've had to work on the past couple of years and something that everyone kind of harps on when it comes to making that next jump. So it's something I really focused on. And then just the IQ of all the players out there. Everyone out there is out there for a reason. They make plays, they make reads. So you got to play almost a more simple game, but at the same time, trust yourself and be confident to make plays.
Josh, obviously, your dad was a long time member of the Arizona Coyotes, of course, 20 years about, and certainly he's an executive with the team now. So given that, was it always a given that you were going to be in the Coyotes Roadrunners organization, or not necessarily?
Yeah, I think obviously come draft day a couple of years ago, it was up in the air on whether or not I'd be a Coyote or not. Obviously, we've made jokes about it in the past that regardless if I ever had a successful career, that I'd find my way back in Arizona because of it's not only home and where my dad played, but it's my hometown team that every kid dreams of growing up to play for the team that they grew up watching. So Arizona and Tucson is obviously something that I've been following since I was 6-7 years old, and I've been following prospects up and through this same kind of program that I'm going through right now, and it's super fun to be a part of. I don't think you could ever say that it was a guarantee that I'd be a part of this organization, and I think that's what makes it a little more special, is it's so up in the air always.
Josh Doan, our guest, and Josh, as you mentioned, thrilled probably to put on that Roadrunners uniform, and someday you'll be able to wear the Coyotes uniform. But at the same time, do you feel a little pressure? Do you feel a little sense of this was the organization that my dad, helped really build, and he's an icon? Is there pressure there for you?
I think it's something that's kind of been taken away since I was a kid. I mean, my dad did an unbelievable job with me and my siblings at making sure we did not feel the pressure of being his son in the Valley, because there's obviously things that he did that everyone looks up to and they kind of expect big things. But when I was younger, he made the decision and kind of told all of us kids, like, if you want to play hockey and enjoy it. You're not playing to prove to anyone who you are. You're playing because you enjoy the game. And that's something that I've taken with me my whole life. I think it's something that wherever I went, there's going to be expectations because of him. Maybe they're a little higher here, but I just enjoy the game of hockey, and I take it for what it's worth. And when you look at it that way, it kind of takes away a lot of that pressure.
Josh, tell me about the line you're playing on. So certainly Colin Tyson. So we've got two ex-ASUers on the line, but also a guy like Adam Cracknell, who's got, 15, 20 years on you. What does playing with a guy like that do for you and all the experience that he brings?
Yeah, he's been unbelievable for me to kind of help and mold me into becoming a pro hockey player. He's someone that I look to almost after every single shift and turn to and ask questions about what's going on. And if I'm not asking questions, he's already said something to me by then about what to look for and what to do. And obviously with a guy like his experience and what he's done in his career, he's an Olympian, he's played in the NHL for years. So it's something that you can't take for granted to get the opportunity to play with a player like him and with his class. It's definitely a special experience.
I want to ask you, almost jokingly, but I'm sure you may have an example or two. But as the new guy, you've only been up for a few weeks. A lot of times those rookies have to go through a lot. Is there anything that the veterans like an Adam Cracknell are making you go through? Short of hazing, anything stand out?
Yeah, I think it's just always easier to pick on the new guy and make jokes. They're a tremendous group of guys, and they like to have fun with each other all the time. And right from the beginning, they throw in all the new guys right into the mix. You're never going to miss a joke or get away from something. They're always going to let you hear it if something happens. So early on, it's been the simple rookie stuff, like when you're traveling, unloading, and cleaning the buses and stuff like that. But other than that, it's been awesome, and they've treated me well.
Hopefully those buses aren't too bad that you've got to just pick some minor trash out. Let's hope here, and nothing too gross. Hey, listen. So Steve Potvin, the Roadrunners coach, he's somebody who you worked with before in the past. Tell me a little bit about that. Your previous relationship with Coach Potvin, even before you joined the Roadrunners a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think obviously Coach Potvin was huge in my development and a lot of other kids in Arizona growing up. He's one of the main skills coaches that started trending upwards with the group of guys that are making pushes now with me and Matthew Nyes and Sam Deckett and a couple other kids that are playing Division I now. He was one of those coaches that took us and added so much skill to our games and made us confident in ourselves. So he's been a coach that we've all been able to look up to and look for when we need advice. So to have him at this chapter of my career is obviously something super special, and having a guy that you can trust that is going to help you get better every single day is super important, obviously.
Josh, you talked a lot about, growing up in the Valley, being around the Arizona Coyotes and now the Tucson Roadrunners. Your ultimate goal, obviously, is to make the NHL. But how much of a drive is there not only to make the NHL and make it up with the Coyotes, but to bring that elusive Stanley Cup to the Valley, to the state of Arizona, when, we haven't seen anything close to that so far?
Yeah, I think obviously first and foremost is that you guys strive to make it there and make the NHL. Obviously, it's the toughest league in the world to make in terms of hockey for a reason. But I think as much as everyone else in the Valley, I've been cheering for the Coyotes to bring home a cup since I was 1 or 2 years old. So it's definitely something that's always going to be looking out for on the horizon. Is you want to be a part of a group that can bring that home to Arizona, in a state that I like to say is very sport prominent when teams are having success, and hopefully that can drive in a lot more for the hockey in Arizona is bringing a cup home.
You mentioned one of the reasons why you left ASU to come to the Roadrunners was you wanted to play more hockey. Well, given that, and considering the Roadrunners are in that 7th and final spot in the AHL Pacific Division, how important is it to you for this team to make the playoffs with 5 games to go so you can have a deeper run and get some more experience here this spring?
Yeah, I think obviously playoffs was a huge part of the decision for my family and I is getting to play playoff hockey. There's nothing really like it. It's a place where your game will grow the most because of how competitive and hard it is to play. You get to learn how to win, which is something that is hard to do at these next levels. Is you don't always get a lot of chances to win anything. So when there's an opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. This is an unbelievable group that I think has a really good chance to make a deep run, and obviously that's a huge part of why I decided to come in now. And at the end of the day, if we make playoffs, and hopefully we do, I'm going to be playing half of a season that I would have played in college in 20 games. So it's definitely something that's super enticing and part of the biggest reasons.
Josh, I know you haven't had a lot of home games here in Tucson, but I'm just wondering your thoughts about the fanatic Roadrunner fans that we know pack TCC occasionally, and they really are devoted to this team. Have you noticed that as well, the fan base here in Tucson?
Yeah, it's definitely it's super special. I think it's one of those things that goes underrated as hockey fans in Arizona, and you go down to Tucson and there's so much more down there than you'd imagine. And obviously there's the diehard Coyote fans, but there's also the diehard Roadrunners fans, and it's super special. I kind of expected that because I know how big hockey really is in the desert, and it's kind of underrated, but it's super special to show up to games and have a fan base like they do down in Tucson with people that are in full support of the team 24/7.
Tell me about that first goal. One day you're going to score your first NHL goal, and your first AHL goal will be long forgotten, right? But I'm sure it was special to you in the moment a week or so ago when you got it. Tell me what that was like and what that meant to you.
Yeah, obviously it's something super special, and it's kind of the monkey off the shoulder to get your first and get it out of the way to give you that feeling that you're helping this team win, and scoring is one of the only ways to do that. And I think obviously playing on a line with Boko and Cracks you're going to get an opportunity to score, and you're going to have to put in the net. And Boko made an unbelievable play right off the faceoff and found me in the slot all alone. And fortunately I put it in, but it's something I'm always going to look back on. It's still your first pro hockey goal, so you're always going to remember that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I know you probably don't have a timetable, but do you have a realistic goal of when and hope of when you'll see your first NHL game?
Yeah, I think obviously it's such a hard question because there's so many things that go into that. I'm hoping to have a really good summer here and get some preseason games in and kind of prove myself, and hopefully at some point next year I get a chance. If not, then the following year is going to be huge for me. I think it kind of depends on how the summer goes this year. It's a summer where I'm going to have to put on a lot of weight and get a little faster, but just get more comfortable playing pro hockey. Obviously it's a huge step from college, and there's no better place to be right now than Arizona with all the picks and prospects they have to train with a good group of guys like that. Always gives you an advantage in the summertime. So it's a timetable that no one really knows the answers to, but it's always kind of fun to look at.
All right, we're talking here with Josh Doan of the Tucson Roadrunners, Jason Barr, Pat Parris with you. So I'm looking at some of the notes we got on you here, Josh, and it says that you're a big Arizona sports fan. Now, sometimes when guys play hockey or a sport, they're just tunnel vision on their sport. They're not really following everything else that's going on. But you're a big sports fan in general. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a diehard sports fan. I think my dad would tease me all the time about being a sports nerd, and he'd always ask me questions for his fantasy football and baseball. But I'm a huge Arizona sports fan. So any Arizona sports team I'm cheering for.
Does that include going to games? I assume with your dad, you've been able to go to a lot of Arizona Cardinal games, maybe some Diamondback games, Suns games.
Yeah, I think last year a couple of me and my buddies would go to the Suns games in the playoffs, and we'd watch them all on TV. Obviously, it's super exciting where they're at right now, and hopefully they can make a push. The Cardinals and Diamondbacks have always been a staple in our household. At Sundays, we'd watch the Cardinals. It's hard to get out to games there because Sundays are pretty busy, but we always tune into those. And then the Diamondbacks, it's always fun to go watch a baseball game and keep track of how they're doing. It's definitely something special when you get an opportunity to go with your dad when his whole career he was kind of away. So to get away to go to those things now is special.
So does that mean you filled out a bracket or you didn't fill out a bracket? Did the guys do that on the team or not necessarily?
Yeah, I filled out a family bracket. I didn't have U of A going too far, unfortunately, but fortunately for myself.
Fortunately for you.
Yeah, worked out.
Unfortunately for the Tucson natives, but fortunately for myself. But I did have ASU going far, and that didn't work out as well. But I mean, my dad, I think, had U of A winning it all, so I had to give him some heat for that. But it's all in good fun.
Yeah, you didn't pick UConn then?
No, I did.
Not
Well,
many
I
did.
should have. Now
Yeah.
that I watched them play, it made a little more sense that they won, but I did not.
It's great to hear you're such a big sports fan because, as Jason said, sometimes you get so caught up in your own sport that you don't take time to appreciate. But I know being in the Valley with your dad, being such a big name, he probably hung out in the same circles with some of those star players of the last 20 years as well.
Yeah. Obviously, you get a chance to meet a couple of those more prominent players and people in the Valley, and makes it a little more exciting when you get to watch them play.
All right, final question for me. You're at Henderson tomorrow night, I believe, and then 4 straight home games to end the regular season. How big is that for this playoff push as you currently hold that final spot in the Pacific Division?
Yeah, I think obviously you want to get as many wins as you can to finish the season. There's teams you're trying to catch now, and I think the big thing around the locker room is you want to win some games before playing San Jose in the last weekend of the year to kind of know for sure that you have that spot going into the playoffs, and you're not leaving up to 2 games to decide with them. So these next 3 games, including tomorrow night, are super important, and everyone in the room is having fun right now. So it should be a fun game.
Well, I'm sure you guys will finish strong, just like you've played even before you got there. They kind of made a push here in the second half of the season. So continued success, Josh. Do appreciate it, and we look forward to watching you play.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Josh. And it's hashtag Carcone MVP, Carcone MVP. It's spelled Carcone, Carcone,
Yep.
Carcone MVP. Try to get him, Mike Carcone, Josh's teammate, the AHL MVP. I know he's deserving, and you guys probably want him to get that.
Yeah, I think obviously he's something special. That's one of the guys you're gonna have to learn from the most is watching him every single day in and out. And obviously he's in that running for a reason. So hopefully we can get it done for him.
Awesome. Well, Josh Doan, thank you so much for joining Pat Parris and myself here on the Huddle, here on K-Gun 9. We wish you lots of success tomorrow night, the rest of the season along the way. It's going to be fun following your career, and we'll talk to you along the way. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Huddle.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, Josh. Thanks.
Thanks so much. That's Tucson Roadrunners forward Josh Doan. And, I was trying to look up, Pat, where he was drafted versus where his father was drafted. It was actually pretty similar.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I believe that Shane Doan was a second-round pick. And I got to look it up. I believe Josh was in the 30s, which would make him about that. So,
Yeah.
Exciting. Certainly, as you mentioned, you probably a lot of pressure. You think about Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf's son, and he's playing baseball. You wonder why. So you try to put yourself in those shoes.
Right.
Hey, a lot to live up to, but at the same time, you just got to be the best version of yourself and do the best you can with the talent that you've been given.
Yeah, and then you look at Tiger Woods and Tiger Woods' son following his footsteps. He even has the same. Even has the same swing. And if Shane Doan is your dad, 1,500 plus games and 402 goals, about 900 some points all total. That's not a bad role model and not a bad guy to learn from. And I think Josh Doan will be up there sooner than later. And I think his goal of a summer of getting stronger and faster, play some games next year in the preseason, he might land a spot or at least maybe bounce back and forth for a season next year before he lands completely up there in the NHL.
For sure. All right. So before we say goodbye, I guess we can touch on the NCAA tournament and UConn's win last night. And Pat, in a tournament that was unexpected and a Final Four that was unexpected and certainly a unique one, it turned out that a school that's won the most championships in the past couple decades and a school that was a number 4 seed and one that played like a number 1 seed was the winner. And I think the key moment in last night's game was after San Diego State got it down to 5, that big 3-pointer by Hawkins of UConn to make it an 8-point game. And then a foul's called. And at that point, I think the Aztecs their comeback ran out of gas.
Yeah. And that's what happens in comebacks, Jason. A lot of times you get right on that precipice of maybe taking the lead or time. And then one thing goes wrong for you. And you just, that energy level, just, you've given it all. You have nothing left. And all of a sudden, it turns back the other way. I think it's interesting, as you mentioned, it was an NCAA tournament filled with upsets from day one with the U of A losing, day two with Purdue getting knocked off as a 1 seed, all the way through the Elite Eight. We saw all those upsets. But then we get to the Final Four, and it was exactly how everybody thought. They thought if UConn just, played UConn's game the way they played all tournament, the national championship game was probably the semifinals against Miami. And they got to the finals, and it was the same. Yes, a little run by San Diego State. But in the end, the best team during the tournament was UConn, and they won quite handily. Double-digit wins in every single game in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and interesting to see the Hurley family there. Pat, growing up in New Jersey, you knew about the Hurley family, certainly. Right. And, you kind of hoped that Bobby Hurley might go to Seton Hall, right? But then Krzyzewski came swooping up and took him to Duke, of course, and he became one of the best point guards ever. And then, younger brother Danny comes along and he went to Seton Hall. Mm-hmm. And certainly maybe not the player that Bobby Hurley was, but, good to see him win a championship there and become a championship coach. And it was fun seeing kind of the videos that ESPN kind of put back from years ago when they were coaching together. I want to say it was on the Wagner staff.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Danny Hurley was the head coach of Wagner, and Bobby Hurley was an assistant coach at Wagner. Mm-hmm. I think that Danny Hurley went from Wagner to Rhode Island, and Bobby Hurley went from being an assistant at Wagner. Maybe there was a stop in between, but then the Buffalo
job before.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. So that was kind of fun to see. He's a little fiery, but not quite like what Bobby Hurley was. But he got his point across to the referees at halftime that he wanted to see more fouls called in that second half. So
I think that he seems to be more the temperament of his father, who of course that's where they get the coaching gene from. And I think kudos to him for winning the championship and a great team. I mean, this is a real great team, Jason, and that's what it takes. Great guard play. You've got to have big men. And I'm just kind of alluding to what I'd like to see with U of A is just so important with that guard play that you can count on your guards to score 17 to 19 points a game in a big game and not just have them kind of disappear. And we haven't seen that the last couple of years.
Yeah. And just, a deal of you got to be playing their best basketball at the right time, and
that's right.
Hold that tournament several weeks ago, UConn doesn't win it. They lost several Big East games, run down the list. I think even, I know I watched part of the Xavier game at Xavier that they lost. And some other ones as well. So you see those losses, and they're a team on the other side of the country that you haven't seen play that much, and you go to look and make your bracket, and I didn't have UConn, doing that well. So, but I think it's a tournament that fooled a lot of people this year for sure. And I was kind of rooting for San Diego State, and I was just kind of thinking, hey, going in, these upsets can happen. Maybe San Diego State can pull one off, 40 years after NC State did, and the whole thing. And then, after the first media timeout, I was reminded, no, there's a reason why UConn has blown everybody out in this tournament. And then it kind of went from there.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show you that the parity is certainly there, and it maybe even becomes more and more equal with every passing year between the so-called mid-majors and the power conferences. But in the end, the power conferences usually find a way to crown a champion, and once again they do. And great season for San Diego State. Matt Bradley is a great player, and I think he was a big reason after he transferred there. Cal, I think, right, is where he went before, where he was going to school before. He goes there and it kind of turns it around. And who knows, Jason, San Diego State might be the next new member of the Pac-12. We'll have to see if the Pac-12 stays together. That could be a team that we see a lot of. And it does seem that their basketball program has arrived and their football program's not all that far behind.
Oh, brand new stadium. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah,
they just kind of need a travel partner. I think that 12th team might be the bigger issue than San Diego State. So we'll just have to see how it plays out, and that'll be a good topic for another huddle for sure. So anyway, hey, real fast before we say goodbye, you're a big indoor football fan. Congrats to Ernest Chin and the Sugar Skull.
Yeah.
I was so surprised because I'm watching the tournament, right, and I'm keeping my eye on the game. San Diego had 3 points at halftime. Yes. I don't think anybody in San Diego was watching.
No, in fact, as I was watching the game on YouTube, the announcers at the arena there in San Diego said that they actually had the game on the big screen at
Good
the
idea.
arena, so people could watch it at the same time. And they're like, "Oh, they've cut it to 5 and all."
Why really, are they cheering for a 3-yard run?
Yes, but in the end, kudos to Ernest Chin. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago about what's going to be different. And obviously, offensively, a couple of the names have changed. Ramon Atkins is now the quarterback, and he was great at Duke City, so there's no problem there. But offensively, they're really good. Defensively, they have really stepped up, Jason. I know it's one game. It's San Diego State. They're going to still have to face the Arizona Rattlers and the Northern Arizona Wranglers, but in the end, at least in game number 1, their defense was much improved.
Yeah, terrific. We'll have to have Curtis Chin on sometime, maybe even next week.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, terrific. All right. Well, this has been the Huddle for KGUN9 streaming sports talk show every Tuesday. He's Pat Parris. I'm Jason Barr. It was a good discussion we had. Thanks to Josh Doan, our guest this week, and we'll see you right back here next week on the Huddle. Take care, everybody.